that's one area that the Chiefs might have a pretty distinct advantage in this one, is a healthy and coming off a bye week, a great interior offensive line going up a very banged up, very thin interior defensive line for this 49ers team.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
5 things to watch here on KC Sports Network, getting you ready for Chiefs-Niners, one of the biggest regular season games of the year. You are going to be hearing from a variety of voices here on KC Sports Network, as you do every week with 5 things. And as every week, this is brought to you by Batchelder Family Farms. You can now order their fresh farm-raised products online in just a few clicks. You can also find their bison at the Overland Park Farmers Market and the River Market on Saturdays, where they sell pasture-raised beef and bison jerky and eggs. You can visit their farm store for the fresh cuts and other locally sourced products Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 20810 South Prospect Avenue in Dalton, Missouri. And let me tell you, it is tremendous out there at Batchelder Family Farms. I am here with the tremendous Matthew Lane. Matthew, how are we doing today, my friend?
Again, as always, now I'm hungry. Now that we've gotten this gotten done, like I'm getting a little hungry now. I'm about to go find myself some bison around here.
Yeah, it is very fitting that one of the sponsors here at KC Sports Network is protein. That's just very...
I'm just waiting for us to also get like an actual whey protein sponsor. Then things will really be popping. Okay,
I'm good there. You can be the spokesperson for that one.
Let's go.
My periodic push-ups probably aren't doing enough in the form of weight of muscle gain.
I don't know if it counts if you just push the periodic table across the desk.
I prefer my protein to be delicious, and that's what Batchelder Family Farms is.
Hey,
this is 5 things to watch. We're giving you all different things to watch, a variety of perspectives here on the network, and we are kicking things off as we usually do. And this week, the San Francisco 49ers, this is not the same Niners team that you've seen in the past. Still a very good team. There's some newer faces on this roster, and they are depleted along the defensive line currently. They have lost Javon Hargrave for the season, and they are working with an interior defensive line that is Malik Collins, who did not practice on Wednesday, Jordan Elliott, who has been dealing with injury as well, was a limited participant practice. So a beat-up interior defensive line that the Chiefs could potentially try to exploit in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this defensive line unit for the 49ers that was once kind of what was central to the team and their success going back to that first Super Bowl matchup a few years back. It's not the same anymore. This defense, but also the team entirely, isn't built around this defensive line. In particular, they're kind of, dare I say, a little soft on the defensive line now, right? Nick Bosa is still a phenomenal player, but we've seen it over the years when the Chiefs match up against them. They do a good job kind of scheming him out, making him choose what he wants to defend and going around him. And now you're looking at these injuries to Hargrave. You're looking at the lack of depth that they now have on the interior because of the moves they've had to make over the years, losing a Buckner, losing an Armstead, and then now with Hargrave injured, this just isn't that same stout interior of a defensive line that this team has had historically. So they have run into some issues this year of teams being able to physically move this defensive line, being able to push them around, create space on the ground in particular, but also limit their ability to get this interior pass rush to allow some quality defensive ends to really tee off. So that's one area that the Chiefs might have a pretty distinct advantage in this one, is a healthy and coming off a bye week, a great interior offensive line going up a very banged up, very thin interior defensive line for this 49ers team.
Yeah, and you look at guys like Drake Jackson, who was flashing his rookie year, and you look at Yetur Gross-Matos as well on their defensive line. Even at the edge position, some of the players that they've brought in to help keep that offensive line churning. They've got a lot of different players that are still working through some injuries, and they are pretty banged up. And when you talk about the interior of the offensive line, they are one of the best run blocking groups in the National Football League. No, I'll say it. They're the best run blocking interior offensive lineman in the National Football League. I think a lot of the run success that we've seen to this point for this team is built around that interior. And, I think, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith and Joe Tooney are all, I think top 10 or something in run success and run success grades. But I think the run game could be something that's super valuable to this team as they're trying to manage that game against the Niners, Maddie.
No, I mean, absolutely. And like the Chiefs this year have been one of the most successful rushing teams in the NFL, especially like on early downs. I believe they currently are saddled up second in the NFL on rush game success rate. And so the Chiefs run game is keeping them ahead of the sticks. They're picking up chunk yards. They haven't particularly been explosive this year, but they are able to consistently get positive yards to, put them ahead of the sticks, which is making it a little bit easier for a passing game that has had its ups and downs. Well, this week seems like another version of what should be that, right? Like you have a 49ers team that hasn't been great versus the run. They now have an even more banged up interior defensive line, especially if Malik Collins is limited at all or can't play. He has been kind of their best interior defensive lineman without Hargrave all year. You give a Chiefs that kind of advantage when the run game is playing this way. You were kind of asking for trouble to constantly let the Chiefs be in third and short, to be not get into any of these third and longs, which really is what activates this 49ers pass rush. So that's a big deal. And like to even take it a step further, you look beyond the defensive line, the 49ers second level, their linebackers, they're not what they once were either, right? Without Dre Greenlaw, who's still recovering from the injury he suffered in the Super Bowl, it's Fred Warner. Devondre Campbell's playing a lot of snaps, but he still hasn't been great. And when they go into base, it's become, D Winters has stepped on in there for him, and they have really been getting gashed on the ground or through the air out of their base defense. So if they are trying to stop the Chiefs running attack, if they are worried about their own interior defensive linemen, and they try to put more bodies out there to handle the Chiefs 12, 13, sometimes 14 personnel with extra linebackers, this might be a tough game for that because they really don't want to play with all three linebackers out there. But I don't know if they have the horses up front to not get into a heavier base personnel and defense to stop the Chiefs rushing attack.
Yeah, and I mean, I could see, to your point, I do think the Chiefs could get into some of those heavier personnel groupings to try to pair that because, hey, look, you can also attach a tight end to a tackle and widen the path for a Joey Bosa or a Nick Bosa. Sorry, to try to. I do this every single year. I always call Nick Bosa Joey Bosa, but trying to alter the path and create a little bit more traffic for the best pass rusher, one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League, in Nick Bosa. You can kind of mix some things in there to try to throw some stuff off for him, and maybe they go a little bit heavier and try to stay ahead of the sticks. Look, in a game like this is going to be a close football game. This is two of the best teams in the National Football League. Close games matter. Like these little situations matter. And early down success will be huge for this team if the Chiefs are going to try to win this game, putting themselves in those second and twos, those third and twos. It's going to be important for them to get into those, advantageous positions ahead of the sticks and then try to execute on third down if they need to in those third and short situations. So run game could be a big piece of just having success on those key money downs, but also just helping them stay ahead of the sticks.
Yeah, and some extra little stuff to throw on top of it here. The 49ers don't allow a lot of explosive runs, but that's not where the Chiefs kind of make their hay. But what they do have is they allow the 8th most yards before contact in the NFL this year at 1.8 yards before contact. So they aren't necessarily getting a lot of disruption in the backfield. They are kind of corralling the stuff late. They don't play with a lot of heavy boxes as is. So you're getting a fair amount of light boxes or at least neutral boxes. Then you are going to come back in, give up all this extra yard before contact. Kareem Hunt has been pretty good at falling forward for an extra few yards. So yeah, the way it's shaping up, this seems like a really good matchup for that Chiefs interior offensive line to take over, for the run game to kind of dictate the flow of the Chiefs offense for the 49ers defense. We will have to see how that matchup plays out. And now we're going to head on over to Matt Hamilton as he talks about how the Chiefs are going to cover Brandon Aiyuk in this game.
All right, thanks, Maddie. And one thing I'm looking for in this matchup is Brandon Aiyuk and how the Chiefs are going to defend him, and really this entire Niners receiving core, because I think this is going to be the game where we're really going to see the impact of L'Jarius Sneed's absence and how much it is going to affect this team when they face diverse and really talented passing games. Remember, they faced the Bengals without T. Higgins. They haven't really seen a receiving core yet that has multiple guys that you really have to worry about. And in that Super Bowl, if we go back there, Sneed was on Brandon Aiyuk for 47% of those snaps, and Aiyuk did not have a catch while Sneed was on him. So I'm interested to see, is it going to be McDuffie on him more in this game? Because I think Aiyuk is kind of the key to me, because with the pressure that I think the Chiefs are going to be able to generate, Aiyuk is the receiver on this Niners team that can really win off the line of scrimmage and get open quickly with his route running. And the ability to neutralize him is going to be a huge factor in Kansas City's ability to have success and slow down this Niners attack. And there's the trickle down effect of that too. If they decide to put McDuffie on Aiyuk, then is it Jalen on Debo? Is he going to be able to win that matchup? Keep Debo bottled up consistently. And also, as we've seen all year, the Chiefs have had struggles with the tight end position. They kept Kittle completely under wraps in that Super Bowl, just 2 catches for 4 yards. He's been hot lately, and the Chiefs have given up the most catches and the second most yards to tight ends this season. So what's the plan going to be there? Is it going to be a heavy dose of Justin Reed and the safeties dealing with him? Are the linebackers going to get involved? Or are we going to see Bolton, who, as well as he's played against the run, we know has had some issues against coverage in the past. So really, you look at Snead not being there, it's that trickle-down effect of, okay, now you move McDuffie on Aiyuk. If that's the plan, how are you dealing with Debo? How are you dealing with Kittle? I think this is really where we're going to see Spags get tested, and I'm really interested to see what the Chiefs' response is. Again, I'm not saying that they're going to have problems dealing with the Niners because I'm never betting against Spags. I'm just saying that this is the first time I think they're really going to get tested, and we're really going to see it. And that ability to keep this thing bottled up. Again, I know Aiyuk is off to a slower start to this season, but he's been gaining momentum in recent weeks as he's gotten acclimated after sitting out all that time during training camp. And I think a big game for him is coming. I think the Chiefs have to make sure that it doesn't happen this Sunday if they're going to come out of there with the win. Back to you, Maddie.
Thanks, Matt. That's great. That's going to be huge on how the Chiefs are able to slow down Brandon Aiyuk and make sure he doesn't really get his season started off on the right foot in this game. We will be right back with more 5 things right after this quick break.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
I love a great deal just as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. And you know what? It turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSN5. That's mintmobile.com/KCSN, the number 5. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSN5. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Welcome back to 5 Things here from KCSN, where we are all giving you guys 5 different things to watch in the upcoming Chiefs and 49ers Super Bowl rematch. We have talked a little bit about the Chiefs' interior offensive line versus the 49ers' interior defensive line, how the Chiefs are going to cover Brandon Aiyuk, and now it is time to head over to the beef of the week, which we are looking at, well, can the 49ers finally beat the Chiefs? Just how mad are they about that?
It's Beef of the Week presented by our friends at Batchelder Family Farms, your source for all things beef. Go visit them at their store that they have down there in Belton. You can find them 2810 South Prospect Avenue in Belton, Missouri, or you can find them at the Downtown River Market Farmers Market or the Overland Park Farmers Market. You can also have their beef delivered within 30 miles of the farm. Order online from anywhere. This week, they've got an incredible special out at KC Buffalo Company, sister company of Batchelder Family Farms. The buffalo are out there as well. The bison are out there as well. You can get the bison beginner bundle for $100, a pound of ground bison, a pound of bison breakfast sausage, which is delicious, by the way. I've had it. It is great for biscuits and gravy. A package of bison steak burgers, 2 per pack. 1 bison ribeye, around a pound. 2 bison strip steaks. 1 bison summer sausage, which is incredible. It's an award-winning summer sausage. And 1 old-timer jerky. You can get that at BatchelderFamilyFarms.com or call them at 816-322-8174. That's KC Buffalo Company, Batchelder Family Farms. They bring the beef. And you know what else, Matt? The Chiefs bring the beef every time they play the San Francisco 49ers, because these two teams have a very modern rivalry. And maybe Kyle Shanahan's got some beef with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, he should have a lot of beef with Kansas City Chiefs. He's 0-4 against them. He should have some beef with coin toss. He's going to start off this game as per usual. I want the funniest thing in the world to happen in this game, and I want the Niners to win the toss, and I want them to defer, and I want one of the Chiefs captains to just scream at them, "About time," right into the microphone. That'll get the game going real good. Like, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want the Niners. But, we're going to kick. And boom, just did the hammer. But no, I mean, Shanahan's 0-4. Obviously, 2 Super Bowls. They played in the regular season in Arrowhead in 2018. That was Mahomes' 4th career start, and he lit him up. Now, to be fair, the Niners were not good at that point in time. They were very good in 2022 when they saw them in Santa Clara, the only time Mahomes ever played in the stadium before. And he handled his business. By the way, there's a world here where Mahomes might be looking at the stadium and being like, "Yeah, I'll see you next year," because the Super Bowl is in Santa Clara next year. So might get back-to-back trips out there. But that's for another day, and that's for another beef. For now, Shanahan is 0-4 against the Chiefs. He has got to figure out a way to get it done. And I would imagine that is in his craw, something fierce right about now, as they have not been able to beat them in games, either regular season or Super Bowl.
No, they have not. Looking at Patrick Mahomes' just regular season splits against the San Francisco 49ers. Again, just the regular season. This does not include the Super Bowl, obviously, as he is 2-0 in Super Bowls against them. Regular season, 6 touchdowns to 1 interception, 737 yards with about a 68% completion percentage. So Patrick Mahomes has played pretty damn well against the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers have cycled through a couple of defensive coordinators. I think Saleh might have been the first one that he had there, and then it was Steve Wilkes' defense, which that was an experiment that I guess he was a sacrificial lamb there for the Niners.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He was going on Steve Wilkes if the Niners scored 22 points and held the offense on the entire game until the end when Shanahan decided to kick a field goal from the 9. Yep.
Yeah. So again, that just goes back to this is a big game for the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. If the Niners go 0-5 against the Kansas City Chiefs,
Not good.
that is not good. They haven't beat the Chiefs since probably the Obama administration.
2014.
Yeah, that's Obama administration. That's crazy to think about. So it's been quite a while since this team has had success, and I can't imagine being a 49ers fan. This team is like the boogeyman, the monster under the bed for this team. They don't want to see him in the Super Bowl again, I'm sure. So this game means a whole lot for the Niners.
The funny thing is, like, if the Niners beat him, the Chiefs are going to be like, okay. And then they see him in the Super Bowl. Like, they're not going to care. But no, this game is definitely more important for the 49ers. There's no question. They're 3-3. They haven't beaten the Chiefs in forever. This game means a lot more to San Francisco. For the Chiefs, it's one of those things, hey, look, you want to win every game you play.
Yeah.
But they've given themselves a great spot here. They're 5-0. They lose this game, all right, it's fine. And if they win it, awesome. All the better.
It might be a one-sided beef is what we're talking about here, but you can get all sides of beef at Fat Elder Family Farms. You can go visit them at their store at the farm, 2810 South Prospect Avenue in Belleville, Missouri. Go check them out at those Farmers Market, Downtown River Market, Overland Park Farmers Market. You can have your meat delivered within 30 miles of the farm. You can order it from anywhere online. BatchelderFamilyFarms.com. Go check out their KC Buffalo October Bison Beginner Bundle Special for $100. You can get, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds of meat, and looks like maybe a couple of bison summer sausages, some jerky, a bunch of other stuff that you can get as well. So you can get all kinds of stuff for $100 there of really good bison meat as well. Stock up because the Chiefs will be playing the Buffalo Bills shortly. You want to have that bison meat on hand for when they play the Buffalo Bills. So let's go ahead and send it back for more 5 things.
Thank you, Tucker. Big stuff there. All right, now we're heading over to Benny. We're going to check out some of Benny's picks. Matty Lane, thank you, sir. What is good, everybody? Glad to be back. Good to talk about the Super Bowl rematch from an underdog perspective in a couple of ways, right? Chiefs, underdogs in this game for the first time in 2024, but also for some lower pick 'em plays on Underdog. It's week 7. There have been some great opportunities on Underdog this year. If you have not had a chance to go ahead and become a part of the action, you can use promo code KCSN. Score up to $1,000 bonus cash on your first deposit. You also get a week 7 free pick, Aaron Rodgers to go over 0.5 passing yards. By the way, Devontae Adams, his newfound receiver in New York, his injury just magically healed up the moment he got traded from
the Raiders to the Jets. Modern medicine, as Tucker, Matt Verderam, and I talked about on the podcast the other day. So now he should be able to go over 0.5 yards. Make sure you guys, if you haven't signed up using promo code KCSN, you take advantage of that free pick on Underdog. Also, they have introduced all throughout October. Don't forget that there are some crazy Boost-tober events. Should mention, there's a great new opportunity called Red Zone Rush. This is basically like the swipe left, swipe right. Like if you wanted to combine the actual good parts of like Tinder with playing Underdog, this is great because it's a new way to play touchdowns all throughout October. If you want to swipe right to add a touchdown or swipe left to skip, makes your card even easier. Plus, every Red Zone Rush entry gets a profit boost all throughout Boost-tober. One guy that I like that I'm about to talk about for a Boost-tober touchdown is Kareem Hunt. So make sure you guys consider that for your card and get that boost over on Underdog. But you came here to talk a little bit about 49ers and Chiefs plays for week number 7. So let's get right to it. I mentioned Kareem Hunt. I like him to go higher than 14.5 receiving yards this week. Listen, I'll admit that I was wrong about Kareem Hunt. Did I think he was going to become the lead de facto back, a couple weeks in to returning to Kansas City? No, not at all. I thought he would be a bit of an insurance policy for Carson Steele. I thought Samaje Perine would get a little bit more run, but they clearly trust him, and his play's been really solid, you guys. One thing that stood out to me about Kareem Hunt right now is that he's making guys miss tackles. 22% missed tackle rate so far this year. And if you're looking collectively at these higher, lower numbers on Underdog this week, 49.5 rushing yards feels reasonable. I just think the receiving yards at 14.5 is a much more valuable number. 49ers have had issues at stopping opponent running backs in the passing game. They're averaging 42 yards per game. Hunt was on the field 50% of the snaps in week 5. He's only had more time to integrate into the passing game for Kansas City. They trust him. And I mentioned the missed tackle rate. 49ers defense this year, bad tackling team, 6th worst in opponent missed tackles this year. So all he needs to do is make a couple guys miss in the passing game, 3rd down dump off, and he clears that number right away. So give me the higher for Kareem Hunt in the passing game, 14.5 receiving yards. You can also maybe ladder that a little bit if you want to try to go for a higher number on Underdog and maybe boost it up. That's certainly in play as well. Let's go to the 49ers and take a guy to go lower. George Kittle, longest reception, 20.5 yards. I think the lower is probably in play. And have the Chiefs had some issues slowing down those athletic tight ends this year? Absolutely. Isaiah Likely went off against him. Mike Gesicki had a really good game against Kansas City as well. But in the case of Kittle, in the case of the 49ers offense, I think their defense sets up well to maybe have more underneath routes for Kittle, maybe more volume in the passing game without necessarily the big play. The Chiefs done a pretty good job at limiting some of those big plays, especially in the middle of the field. So this is also a Chiefs defense, by the way, that has ranked top 10 in opponent yards per play. So the way that I'm kind of envisioning Kittle is that I think he still has a nice game, maybe 6 receptions, 65 yards. I just don't anticipate a massive yards after catch type of performance where he clears that 20.5. So I like the lower here, even though Kittle could see himself having a solid day overall. Remember, you're trying to find the number that's going to work best here, and the 20.5 just feels a tad bit high in the middle of the field, especially knowing that they have Deebo Samuel, they have Brandon Aiyuk. There's other guys that you can consider for more concerns for yards after catch in space. I think Kittle has a better chance of being contained, even though he might get more targets and more actual completions on the day. And then the last one, this is the equivalent of your free space on the bingo card. We're going to keep playing it until we are shown that it's not an effective play anymore. Harrison Butker, 1.5 field goals made. Give me the higher on that. He's attempted 2+ field goals in every game this year. The only time that he's failed to reach this mark was in week 4 against the Chargers. 49ers are also bottom 9 in field goal attempts allowed per game. Meanwhile, the Chiefs over their last 3 games ranked top 2. 49ers defense, just not the same 49ers defense that we've become accustomed to seeing. They've had more sustained drives allowed. Teams have been able to get past them on third down. Red zone defense is still all right. But again, like the Chiefs offense, very much still a work in progress other than the Hall of Famers that are on the field in Mahomes and Kelsey. So they trust Butker, and especially knowing that Chiefs are slight underdogs in this game, decent total. This may come down to a field goal attempt at the end of the game where Kansas City has a massive advantage over San Francisco at this point. They trust Butker to make those big kicks. They trust them to keep him in the game. And I see a scenario where he's probably attempting maybe 2, 3, possibly even 4 kicks. And more often than not, especially with decent weather, he should be set up for success. I like Butker once again, 1.5 field goals made. Give me the higher. So on the board for this week, we have Kareem Hunt, higher than 14.5 receiving yards for the Chiefs. George Kittle, longest reception of 20.5 yards. Give me the lower. And then Harrison Butker, 1.5 field goals made on the higher. Don't forget, use that promo code KCSN for the great opportunity that remains for you, including the $1,000 in bonus cash on your first deposit. You get that free Week 7 pick as well with Aaron Rodgers, over 0.5 passing yards. It has been such a fun season with Underdog. Love these opportunities to go through some of the pick and plays each and every week with you. And with that, go Chiefs. Maddie, back to you, my friend.
Make sure you get those things written down, get them in your apps, where get them out there. You want to make sure you follow those picks. Now we're going to head on over to the boys and Only Weird Games, and we're going to talk about getting better in the red zone because the Chiefs have been struggling so far with it.
Thank you, Maddie Lane. It's Joshua Briscoe and Nate Taylor. Didn't feel like I had a nickname for either of us there that quite rivals what Maddie's bringing to the table, but hopefully we can at least carry our weight with the analysis from 2/3 of Only Weird Games. Nate, I want to talk to you a little bit more about something you wrote in The Athletic this week and that we talked about a little bit on Thursday on Only Weird Games, the Chiefs in the red zone. We know that their success rate between the 20s has been really good, particularly running the ball. We know Patrick Mahomes has down the down been pretty good this year, even by his lofty standards. The explosive plays haven't been there, so scoring is down. And as you point out in your piece on The Athletic, in 18 trips inside the 20-yard line, the Chiefs have scored a touchdown just 7 times. That's about 39%, ranking 29th in the National Football League. What is going on when the Chiefs get inside the 20?
Man, it really should be so much better based on, as you said, the way they're playing in the middle of the field or going, deep into the opponent's territory. I think, it's a couple reasons. The play calling to some degree could be better. But ultimately it comes down to either a lack of protection for Patrick, which is either penalty driven or, a sack or two that really, takes you out of being in position to have some advantages. And then I think the other thing too is no one's getting open in the red zone when Patrick does pass the ball. And so one of the more interesting things is he's thrown 2 interceptions, Josh, where, hey, Juju Smith-Schuster should just catch it. And hey, the reason he kind of threw the interception in Atlanta is because you're relying on a rookie in Carson Steele who misses a blitzer. All of a sudden the ball's up in the air too long and Justin Simmons picks it off. So they can't run the ball as successful with Carson Steele, which means I think they should rely more on Kareem Hunt. But also they really don't even target Travis Kelce. That's something that has been really bizarre to me, is that they're relying more on either rookies, i.e. Carson Steele, or, Xavier Worthy, or it's a lot of let's get really gimmicky, let's get really creative. Hey, Wanya Morris scores a touchdown. Everybody says that's great, but it's not really helpful when you have to kind of rely on that more so than just beating your opponent at the point of attack.
I think in theory, some of the issues become relatively, not obvious, but they make relative sense. Where the Chiefs don't have a jump ball winner on this roster unless Justin Ross gets a call up. I mean, I guess Jody Fortson's back now. We can push for that, but they clearly don't prioritize the traditional, air quotes, red zone targets. which
Yes.
also kind of makes sense because the Chiefs do prioritize speed and creating space and separation with speed. Well, that's easier to do when you have more space to work with. Once you get down there, though, when you don't have as much room even for Travis Kelce to work, as obviously not with speed as much in that instance as with seeing the gaps in the defense, you have less yardage, you have fewer gaps. That kind of thing does happen. And as you mentioned, on Only Weird Games, sometimes you see teams who play a lot of zone switching to man in the red zone, and then you don't really have any man beaters on this roster to this point, or at least not proven ones. So I understand how the Chiefs got here, but it's also kind of a bizarre place for them to fall so short. We've seen Corn Dog work on multiple occasions with guys who are either not on the team or barely on the team at this point. It doesn't seem like we've seen as much horizontal motion throughout the course of this season, which is sort of odd because it seemed like something Xavier Worthy could probably do at a very high level, and McCole Hardman has kind of been your guy to do that since they drafted him, and he is still on the team and does still have to get a handful of snaps. Is there a place that could get creative outside of, hey, Kareem Hunt, go ahead and run between these two, high-level guards behind this all-pro center, or go ahead and use the power of Awanya Morris, or Juwan Taylor, for that matter. He's had a pretty good season. It's not like they can't run behind him.
Right.
Rely on the O-line going forward. I understand that. Anything else more creative that they could do that's sustainable and not gimmicky?
Yes, I do think there's one suggestion, and they did it on a very few occasions, right? One time where it worked, one time where it didn't, but I would actually increase play action. I would increase play action with rollouts. Obviously, they got into that jumbo set with Leo Chenal as a fullback. They actually, play action to Carson Steele so that it could set up Wanya Morris. Now, there was one time where they did more of an RPO sort of play action rollout, and Mahomes just, for a decent reason, decided not to throw the football because the Chiefs have a turnover issue too, so you don't want to compound it by turning the ball over in the end zone. Again, we mostly give the blame to Juju Smith-Schuster for the red zone turnover against the Saints than Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, they need to rely more on play action. And again, if you can establish the fact that Kareem Hunt can get the tough yards in those condensed spaces, it might open up some things in play action. So that would be my suggestion, alongside the, hey, let's actually get some of the jet sweeps back into the offense as well, because at least it gets the defense having to think for a second and anticipate. And it's a bit of a misdirection play because you all of a sudden go from perhaps it being a shotgun play to obviously it can potentially be a pop pass or obviously a handoff on a jet sweep. So if you can get some traditional misdirection or just conventional play action plays, I actually think that might help in the red zone. And look, the 49ers are not as good of a defense as they have shown in previous years. So there's a chance that if you want to get healthy at the red zone, actually do it well on Sunday to get away from that 29th ranking. That is as shocking as it was to see and it was to write and to hear you say. That's the reality. They get in there all the time, but they got to improve that touchdown percentage in the red zone if they want to continue to win and obviously get to being that dominant team ahead of the postseason.
Coming out of the bye, also, you assume that was a huge talking point in the building. We'll get a chance to see if it does result in a little more scoring on Sunday.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So that has been 5 things here from us over here at KCSN. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. Make sure, that you guys check out Batchelder's Farms. We very much appreciate any support that you guys can send their way. We promise it is worth it. And then after this 49ers Chiefs games, make sure you head on over to the KC Sports Network YouTube page where we will be going live for our post-game show as soon as that is over to talk about win, lose, draw, whatever happens. We will be there. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And we will see these Chiefs hopefully coming off of another victory.